Hey everybody, welcome to the next video. Today we're breaking down Operation Hawkeye. Breaking news coming out of Syria. 70 plus ISIS targets have been hit. I'll be breaking down fully how that went down, how the US military likely executed those strikes, just from my opinion. And then we'll talk about why one strike won't do, two strikes won't do. How about 70? How about 70 of these strikes? Why 70? Why this massive amount of strikes at this time? If there's been 70 targets for ISIS just sitting over there, why are we striking them now? We know that U.S. troops were ambushed over there just a few days ago. RIP to those service members. Tragic. Thoughts and prayers with their family and friends. But today I'll be diving into the tech, the systems, and where this conflict could go from here and what we might see in this scenario over the next week or so. But first, let's just dive right into the region. I'll give you guys a quick overview of Syria. So as you can see, Syria, very austere desert type terrain, and then it's flanked by a lot of different hotspots in the area. Jordan was a part of the Allied response in this situation, teaming up with U.S. forces, going in and striking these terrorist targets. You've got Iraq there, which is relatively unstable. A lot of Iranian proxies in Iraq. A lot of the militias are actually run by Iran at this point. So again, a stronghold of ISIS in Iraq. And then you've got just kind of, a powder keg of a region in that area. But it is worth saying Jordan stepped up to the plate. Jordan has seemed to be a very strong ally of the U.S. throughout the years. A lot of U.S. fighters based there, so they teamed up to take on ISIS in Syria. With a new regime coming into Syria, it's interesting to see how much they are working with the U.S. So Bashar al-Assad was ousted and went to Russia, basically exiled to Russia. And now we've got the new regime in there that seems very inclined to work with the Trump administration in Jordan. So, hey, that's a good sign when it comes to rooting out ISIS. I think that's great. But here's a little bit of an overview of what we're seeing on X. So massive strikes, 70 plus targets in Syria. The resolve against ISIS seems to be ticking up in a way that hasn't been seen since probably 2018, 2019 or so. So now we're seeing a whole double down happening towards ISIS. These are some of the strikes coming in. I'll get to what I think these strikes are, what weapons they are, how they were delivered, what U.S. forces are in the regions, which fighter jets are out there flying. And we'll go from there. We'll break down all the different systems and how those systems are being used and integrated. Again, this is one of the 70. As you can see, a lot of these strikes are happening in austere locations, kind of desert locations where you have camps, so terrorist camps. Probably likely a lot of what we're seeing being struck here. And then this is just kind of, I thought this was pretty funny, this meme right here. Coming off of an F-15E Strike Eagle with its gear down, by the way. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I mean, that's a great meme. But again, everybody's, opening this up on ISIS in Syria. So yeah, it looks like the U.S. has taken the gloves off. This is from CENTCOM here. So it looks like 100 plus precision munitions were used. So we're going to talk about what those precision munitions likely were, and then I'll come back and we'll look at some of the videos after I discuss them a little bit. So stay to the end to hear exactly what the munitions are potentially, from my opinion, right? From a washed up fighter pilot's opinion on YouTube. So got to throw that out there. But we'll go ahead and do a quick breakdown on how this operation could have gone down and what we'll see moving forward. So this was, I guess you could call it a retaliatory strike. I mean, retaliatory strikes happen. If you're a terrorist out there and you're striking U.S. forces, hate to tell you this, but the U.S. military sticks up for their own. And that's something I love about the U.S. military is no man or woman left behind. And then if you mess with the U.S. military, you're going to get the pointy end of the spear. Let's just say that. My brain went to a lot of different places there, but we'll just say you're going to get the pointy end of the spear if you mess with other service members. I mean, you can see that in the FBI and in the CIA. If, let's say, Russia executes a spy that's in Russia, what likely happens in the U.S. is the U.S. Clandestinely will execute a spy here from Russia because a lot of people know who those spies are. But again, it's kind of like you stick up for your own. And I think that's a fantastic, amazing part about the U.S. military. It's something I'm very proud of. And on this channel, I like to tell the stories about the heart and soul of warriors, the heart and soul of military members. And these military members that were gunned down, I'm going to get to what the information I'm seeing, where they were gunned down. And that's kind of highlights, how sad the situation really is and why these bad actors need to be taken out. So, Yep. So we got ISIS in the region, struck extremely hard in 2019, and now they're clawing their way back. So basically, I look at ISIS kind of like the weeds in the sidewalk. Like the sidewalk's looking pretty good, but we got these little weeds popping up. So then you got to go in and you got to spray the Roundup. You got to get the weed whacker out. And that's what these 100 plus munitions were. Quick coffee break. Hope you guys are enjoying some delicious coffee as well this morning. So they don't have a fancy caliphate, which is what ISIS wants. They want to rule the entire world with a caliphate. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm being straight up honest with you guys. That's what they want. When I went through my military training, first couple months, they showed us a map, and it was the caliphate plan for ISIS, for a lot of these different bad actors, these terrorists. They want to have the entire globe covered by a Muslim caliphate. I'm just going to throw that out there. That's from military training schools in the U.S. Air Force. They show us the map. That's what their plan is. That's what they want to do. They want to take over the entire world. Okay. So throwing that out there. But they're playing the long game now that they don't have this fancy caliphate, and they have sleeper cells, and they're doing a lot of hit and run operations in Syria. Syria is the Wild West. At this point, we do have a regime that's very friendly to the West, so they're rolling in and basically saying, hey, we are not going to allow this to happen anymore in Syria, where Bashar al-Assad, tried to do that, but he was corrupt, and so no one really listened to him, couldn't get a foothold, didn't partner with the U.S. Now partnering with the U.S., I think it actually gives Syria a chance of having a real country, being a contributor, becoming a really wealthy, awesome country. If they continue to root out these people. Again, my brain goes to some places where I want to call them some things, but I don't want to get demonetized on YouTube. I want to keep bringing you guys these videos full time. So Assad is out, and now Ahmad al-Sharaa took on the post of being the president of Syria. Looks like they are crushing ISIS, but there's obviously going to be it's a very hard situation where you have to vet locals and you have to root out corruption at the local level, door to door, tribes meetings, meeting with local councils. And then U.S. troops are backing up Sharaa with 900 operators there. It's called Operation Inherent Resolve, and they're teaming up with the Syrian Democratic Forces to guard their oil fields, keep a flow of energy and money coming into the regime, and then that can go into the population, that can go into the military to try to actually get a foothold in the area that has the ability to have an economy. So when you think of, it's basically like counterinsurgency operations manuals. When you think of that, I studied those manuals before going and deploying, and you look at there's different pillars. So it's not all about security. Security is a huge part of it. That's one of the pillars. But then education is one of the probably biggest ones. But you can't really have education if you don't have security, right? And then economy. So you got to have economy, you got to have education. And if you have those things teamed up with security, now you have the chance of actually creating a country that has the resolve to stand on its own. And that's the goal. Get everybody to stand on their own. Teach a man to fish. But then again, just a few days ago, a patrol near Homs, that is near some ancient ruins in Palmyra, there was a joint U.S.-Syrian key leader chat at a forward operating base. So again, you bring in the key leaders, and then out of nowhere, a Syrian guard. This is how it goes down. Syrian guard sparks it off, was supposedly known for having some sketchy vibes, but they unloaded, and that's a classic green on blue ambush, which has to be stopped. That spark lit with close range small arms. So they targeted U.S. forces with close range small arms. And then it started an ambush. 5 to 10 ISIS members popped out of the shadows from dunes outside of the base with AK-47s, maybe some RPGs as well as what's being reported. IEDs lined as well as a part of this ambush. So again, this is their operation. Sleeper cells, get someone on the inside, and then team it up with folks on the outside that are trying to just cause complete mayhem, disrupt the country. They don't want a real government. And so that's why that attack went down. 2 heroes were killed in this attack from the National Guard, 2nd Brigade. Thoughts and prayers with all of their families and friends. And then a Syrian American interpreter was also taken out, which is extremely sad. And just for the honor of them, I'll read their names here. 2 Iowa National Guards from the 2nd Brigade, Maria Gonzalez, 32, and Jamal Carter, 28. They're gone, plus Ahmad Khalil, that was the interpreter. And then there was also multiple wounded, okay? So this is going to spark off Operation Hawkeye. Again, RIP. This channel is about the heart and soul, the beautiful service that pumps through the veins of service members. I want to just highlight that. Whenever we lose one, it's tough. It's a really tough situation. So thoughts and prayers with their family. So let's talk a little bit more about the spark that was ignited on ISIS because of that attack that they did. So December 19th, 4 p.m. Eastern time, Operation Hawkeye launches. CENTCOM is calling the shots from Tampa. That's the headquarters where all this operation is going to go down. They're going to hammer 70 plus ISIS spots. We saw that in that original video, but there it is again. 70 ISIS spots get hammered in retaliation to trying to take down Syria from being a legitimate country. That's really what it's about. They're trying to take down not just the U.S., obviously they hate the U.S., but they're trying to keep Syria from becoming a place where people can thrive, and that's just evil and disgusting. So here's what CENTCOM's going to call down. 100 precision bombs are going to drop in wave 1, claiming dozens of militants and gutting all of their desert setups where they're planning and operating all these different terror operations from. The Secretary of Defense dubs it vengeance declared, but it's smart. There's no massive amount of boots on the ground. It's air, and it's striking these targets from above, and it sends a clear message without putting a massive amount of boots on the ground. It's called a retrenchment strategy. And when you look at military history, retrenchment means you go in, you knock the head off the snake, and then you get out. You don't have a massive force on the ground, which costs lots of blood and treasure. So how is this delivered? So a lot of different ways that it could have been delivered that I think is worth talking about. One of the main ways is fighter jets, which I'm a little partial to. So I might be a little biased when it comes to that. But A-10 Warthogs from the 332nd could have been operating out of Qatar. Those are upgraded with digital guts. So the avionics are all updated in those A-10s. They can stay up high and sling 500-pound JDAMs, GBU-38s. They can do laser-guided weapons as well. But all 100 coming at once, I would assume that it could be a massive strike package of F-15Es. That's probably one of the biggest things that I think could do it in conjunction with MQ-9s. But the F-15E has the ability to drop GBU-31s, 2,000 bombs a piece, or 2,000-pound bombs for each one of those. So if you had an 8-ship of F-15Es roll in, the F-15E is going to carry 7 bombs for each jet. So that's going to be 6 500-pounders, 1 2,000-pounders. So you've got 6, let's say you've got 8 of those with 7 bombs apiece. You got 56 bombs coming off of an 8-ship of F-15Es. That's math in public for you. I'm so proud of myself. But coming off of those F-15Es, 56 off of 8 of them. So that's an option for this. Lots of different assets, F-16s, A-10s, all teaming up with a massive strike package. But the key with this is you want all these bombs to hit relatively simultaneously so that you're taking down these terror camps all at once and you're not delaying and allowing, these terrorists to get away because they're just going to continue to do the attacks. So MQ-9's likely doing the reconnaissance. That's probably the videos that we're seeing here. So this video right here, likely coming from an MQ-9 Reaper. MQ-9 Reaper, one of the workhorse drones of the U.S. military. Beautiful ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance that's able to be done. So hats off to the MQ-9 for that. But again, when you think about the area, the way that it's, the way that this area is so austere, so Syria, very austere, you got to think about what assets can actually get there, the refueling that's needed. So refueling, out over Iraq, not really an option. Likely refueling over Jordan and then executing the strikes into Syria. Got to get the jets in, get the strikes off, and then get them home. So lots of different moving parts when it comes to 100 different projectiles flying off fighter jets. This is a very complex operation. Some people might think you hit a button, 100 of these weapons, fall on these terrorist camps. No, not the case. You have to coordinate deeply with multiple different agencies. So hats off to the coordination and all that went down. This is not a small operation. Again, KC-135s refueling everybody, SATCOM, communications going on between the jets and satellites. And so ISIS their goal is to fight dirt cheap. That's what they do, right? They're not a matchup for our tech, but they're masters of low-tech chess. So AK-47s, PKMs, which are kind of like a bigger caliber gun that can actually be used to shoot at helicopters as well. RPGs, IEDs, that's their main thing. So again, it's insurgency again, just like the Afghanistan situation. But at this point, it's teaching the Syrian forces to stand on their own and stand up for themselves. So Operation Hawkeye, in my opinion, it clipped the wings, but again, they're going to go low tech. They're just going to bring in more people. They're going to radicalize more people, bring in the AK-47. So it's really about Syria on its own, understanding its own country, understanding on how geopolitics works, and rooting out corruption within the ranks of its military, having a strong economy where they can focus on education, where they can focus on services, so that, you know, these guards don't want to be converted into an extremist. But then again, you have one of these guards that has some sort of a personal weakness where, you know, a family member of theirs was taken out at some point, and now they want to get vengeance as well. That's exploited by the ISIS type mentality. So will this spark Syria 2.0? That's one of the questions. I don't think so. I don't think necessarily a massive, you know, civil war will break out. I think maybe Syria has the potential now to be in the best position they've been in hundreds of years. They have the potential to have the U.S. protecting their oil fields if they can keep the regime legitimate. Syria, if that regime can stay legitimate and they don't have corruption, they can totally link in economy and education into their population and root out, you know what, like ISIS that are using, you know, Syria, beautiful historic place as, you know, their headquarters. So CENTCOM is doing these deliberate strikes with likely A-10s, F-15Es, F-16s. The F-15E, probably the star of the show in my opinion. That thing is a bomb truck. It's just ready to go. And it's also loaded out with anti-drone rockets. So man, just a highly capable platform. And it makes me a little bit excited to talk about the F-15E, if you can't tell. So vigilance is the real focus of this, getting the regime to be legitimate in Syria, propping them up so that they can stand on their own 2 feet. What do you guys think of this situation? Where do you think it goes with Syria and Syria? Do you think we'll see Syria 2.0? Let me know in the comments below. I'll do a full breakdown on this as well when I'm back in the studio, but I got to keep this breaking news coming to you guys because it just makes me excited to keep you guys updated and informed about the amazing U.S. military, the partners of the U.S. military, and all, you know, the good things I believe they're doing around the globe. I think the U.S. military is the greatest force for good in the world. It's not perfect, but greatest force for good, and I think this is an example of that. Stand up for your fallen. Focus on those that are trying to disrupt, you know, free and civil organizations and civilizations. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Follow me on X. Follow me on Instagram. Please click on one of these videos right here. I'll see you on that video. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off.